One theme of this whole thing is it's a much more integrated design. It's like everything is kind of form fit into place to match a kind of industrial design intention, as opposed to something that was meant more for utility for somebody who uses it for a living. All right, guys, welcome to the internet's first look into the Hoto 12-volt cordless drill. As far as I can tell, no one else has managed to take this thing apart or even tried that I could find. It is kind of the iPhone of drills, and because of that, it doesn't lend itself very well to being taken apart. It was kind of meant to be assembled once, and then that's it. This indoor dog of drills is not really meant for contractor duty, but meant for somebody who's really only going to be hanging picture frames and putting together IKEA furniture. And so its design and construction basically reflects that it's not really meant to be used to work on a car. It's meant for people who live in a city and don't really get dirty much, as much as I can tell. Oh, that's satisfying. That's my favorite part. Yeah, sticky fingers. All right, that's what this video is about, but who am I and why do you care? Well, if you'll notice, I do have quite the giant many dozens of subscribers, so there's that. But also, I do moonlight, but in the daylight, so I guess I daylight as a product development engineer designing electromechanical products for the last 13 14 years or so. And so that's kind of the perspective that I bring to the table. If that sounds interesting to you, then I hope you stick around. All right, so this next section just shows me taking it apart. You see I found that screw in the middle of the chuck, and as you can see me trying, it does not want to go, but that's because it's a lefty tighty righty loosey screw instead of the traditional lefty loosey righty tighty. So got that out, but it didn't really let me do anything, so I kind of fumbled around trying to figure it out. Feel free to skip this section, guys, to about the 4-minute 45-second mark when I actually got it apart. But that's the user interface button rubber that I decided to peel off and see if there were some screws behind there, and sure enough, there were 3 screws. And once I got that off, it revealed the user interface circuit board. We just call it the UI board in product design, and that's the driver board inside there, but I can't, the motor driver board, but I can't see how to take it apart any further. So there's the user interface assembly, and set that down, hoping maybe if I pry this sticker up, there will be screws underneath there, just like there was the UI rubber. And sure enough, as I peel up the spec sticker, there are 2 more screws underneath there. So making progress slowly. That's a USB-C charging port, by the way. That's how you charge the battery, just like any iPhone or Android charging cable made after 2017 or so. And that is the battery management board. All lithium batteries need to have a management board to control them. They're a little more complex than traditional lead acid batteries. So fumbling around here trying to figure out how to get this thing apart more, and I noticed 4 screws in the user interface area that I had not noticed before, but what I had would not fit in there. It was too narrow and long, so I had to go get new screwdrivers from Harbor Freight, and they did the trick just fine. They were long and slender enough to get down in there, but as you can see, that didn't really get me anywhere. Whatever those screws were doing, it wasn't enough to let me take it apart. So a lot of time passed in between now, but here's the rest of it. All right, guys, so you might notice that this looks nothing like the previous clip that was to the different part of video, it's much different. And that's because this is like weeks later, because I had to take this bad boy out to the freaking vise. But let me get there. There's a whole story arc to this. Okay, so for when you saw it, it looked probably like that, right? And you saw me like, you know, doing that because I thought I was just sure that these clips and maybe some up here were what was holding it in. And no, this thing just does not want to be taken apart. So there was, oh, what's that right there? Yeah, there's that little bugger. So you had to take the trigger out to see that there was a screw right there, and then when you did, then that is what that went into there, and that was holding those two pieces together, not phantom clips. You know, I kind of always, I don't know, it's probably just my impatience. I default to thinking that there's clips holding it together because it means that I can just pull harder and it'll come apart. But that strategy normally doesn't pay off, but I haven't learned my lesson yet. So luckily I didn't pull hard enough on it to make it break. I was pretty sure I was pulling too hard to not pull clips apart. So there's a little, you know, YouTube friendly word thingy. All right, so but then I had a new problem, which was, so it looked something, as you could, if you haven't figured it out, I broke the damn thing, so I don't really care if I'm not going to be able to put it back together anyway. So it looked something like that, okay, except that was in there more better or more functional. And I still do not know how this is supposed to separate from this, because I'm pretty sure it's not supposed to separate like, come on, you stupid camera. All right, I'm pretty sure you're not supposed to have to break it to get it apart. And you can see there. And why are you focusing on everything except what's in front of your damn face? Ugh. All right, I'm gonna break something. There. Oh, oh, that's where you want to be. Okay, you like that. All right, so that's not supposed to be like that. And okay, you like over here. You like the right side of the screen. You stupid Samsung. I like Samsung. Don't get me wrong. So there's the places where that plastic broke right there. Still don't have any idea how this thing is supposed to be taken apart. I do know now how to take the rest of it apart. There's a nice little clip ring that's underneath the broken thingy. But it takes very tiny clip ring pliers that apparently mine aren't tiny enough. I tried to pre-bend them to get them to be closer together, and that strategy was unsuccessful. So, but not too big of a deal. I know that's not how to take it apart because you can't get to that without removing the broken thingy. So I still do not know how the heck this thing is supposed to be taken apart without breaking it. But it's taken apart, and that's the important part, because now we, you guys and me, get to satisfy our curiosity by seeing what's inside. So let's start up here. That's a two-stage planetary, 5 gears on the final stage, and 4 gears on the initial stage. The gears are pretty stout. They're heavy. They feel like they're powder metallurgy, which would probably be pretty normal. And they're serious pieces of kit. They're not chintzy. And the whole the ring gear, the dual ring gear housing that holds both stages is one solid single piece that you can see right there. So that's a very, very stout design. And you can, one theme of this whole thing is it's a much more integrated design. it's like everything is kind of form fit into place to to match a kind of industrial design intention, as opposed to something that was meant more for utility for somebody, who uses it for a living, like a DeWalt or a Rigid or a Milwaukee. This is meant to be used and then thrown away basically when it doesn't work anymore. The battery is an integrated battery that can't be replaced. It gets charged by USB, regular USB-C, just like an iPhone or a Galaxy. And so it's very much an indoor dog, so to speak. This, instead of being able to take apart the whole gearbox and set it over on the side like I could with almost every other drill and impact that I've taken apart, it's very much integrated into the handle piece. It's like it looks like there's no gap, like it's pressed in there. I'm sure there's something that I'm missing. There's a part that will come out of there if you knew how to do it, but I ain't got the time, and I can see everything pretty much that's in there anyway. So there's plenty of ejector pins, and that's kind of a symbol of a tool, or a sign of a tool that was well made. They went the extra effort. They put plenty of ejector pins so that when this thing presses out of the mold, it's kind of pressed out evenly so that it doesn't warp or put uneven pressure on one side that's stuck in the mold and then make score marks. And kind of this is meant to look really expensive. It needs to fit the iPhone, Galaxy high-end consumer electronic motif, and so that's that they went to extra effort. And probably the another big thing in that effort is, this is the only part where it lists the material, but there it is, PC-ABS. That is polycarbonate and ABS. I forget what. It's something butylene stearate. I can't remember what ABS stands for, but they're two very well-known engineering plastics. Polycarbonate is the famous one that's for being clear and making bulletproof glass out of, if it's thick enough. But it can be. They make lenses out of it also. These are kind of dirty, but this is polycarbonate right there. So that's it's a very it's on the upper end of expensive materials, but it's a very glossy optical material, in addition to having some pretty cool mechanical properties. Very, very high impact resistance. And then ABS is another engineer. They're both, by the way, amorphous plastics, which I'll get to in a second, why that's very important for what this product's trying to be. But ABS is another plastic that has, I don't know what it does that really makes it stand out. It's got good weatherability, it's got good moldability, it's got good mechanical properties, but it gets better. It kind of gets better. PC-ABS is just a blend where the properties of both of the polymers kind of combine to produce a result that's better than either one of them would be by themselves. And it's like that material was tailor-made for this type of product. Obviously, it's very common. It's not a specific blend to them. It's used everywhere where you want high-end fit and finish. And the reason is, probably the biggest two things are finish, the finish that it can accept, and the warpage and dimensional stability of it. They are both of those categories. This material absolutely excels. You can make this the shiniest plastic in the polymer world, or you can make it the mattest come on, you freaking thing, plastic in the polymer world. It's completely up to you, and you can color it. So I guess three things. It is the most colorable, the most shiny, and the most among the most dimensionally stable. So when you have parts that fit together very intimately and they need to line up on a big long line where they come together without without one of them being wavy or you know, on this axis or that axis, you know, that would look really bad because you have a line of reference. So if one of them is different than the other, then it's going to be very obvious that they don't match up, and it's going to make the product look cheap. And that is where PC-ABS excels. It whatever the mold looks like is what these parts are going to look like, minus some shrink factor. It will shrink very, very evenly right here, right here, right there, right there, everywhere. It'll just be like a slightly, you know, just turn the dial down 1, 2, 3, 4%, and that's the whole thing will shrink from the exact shape of the cavity of the mold. And it's very predictable how much it will shrink, and it's very uniform how it shrinks from the hot molten plastic that solidifies in the mold and then gets popped out. Obviously hot stuff, you know, the matter's bouncing around and it's bigger, and so as it cools, the molecules get closer together and solidifies, and that is really a pain, can be really a pain in the butt with many other plastics, particularly semi-crystalline plastics such as nylon. And then you throw glass into the mix, you know, which is probably what this handle is made out of, and every other housing from DeWalt to rigid to you name it. You throw glass into the mix of a semi-crystalline material and you have an absolute nightmare of dimensional repeatability and predictability. From, you know, you make the tool expecting the part to look like this, and then it doesn't come out looking like that, because it all depends on how the glass fibers, you know, weave their way into the part. And if some of them get kind of turned around and you gotta look, you know, they're facing that way, then that area of the part is going to shrink at a different rate than the other area of the part where the fibers are oriented, you know, in direction of flow, or perpendicular to the other direction of flow. So that's where PC-ABS is really shines, and why it fits this product's motif so perfectly. A high-end indoor consumer electronic, that is the perfect material selection for that. So all right, now let's go over this motor. This is a heavily customized motor. It is definitely a brushless motor. You can see, and it's got custom plastic housings around it. Got the motor leads. The three brushless motors have either 3 or 4 motor leads. Steppers will have 4. Most brushless will have 3, and that's another indication that it is a brushless motor. The fact that the circuit board's right there is another indication, and the fact that I cannot see any brushes in there is you know, probably the biggest dead ringer. But there's you can see the integrated cooling fan in there, and I don't know if you can notice this, but this thing has a very high cogging torque. I mean, it's like a ratchet feel. It does not want to be anywhere except those poles. So, and that you can have all types of motor, you know, torque curves and characteristics, and still have that. You can have that in a high RPM motor or low RPM motor, but just thought it was noteworthy compared to other motors in the past. So, serious piece of kit right there. Those are, see those electrical connections. Those are, you know, similar to electric hobby motor connections that draw very high amperage. And switch is a switch. Not a whole lot interesting there, but Yeah, and the battery pack, so integrated battery pack, like I said, there's the deets on that. You know, it goes bad. Basically, I don't know what their policy is on if they'll rebuild it or not for you. I think I did see refurbished units when I was looking to purchase this. So uh, there's the user interface that lets you pick the speeds. Really, what does the different settings on it are probably more controlling torque than speed. That about wraps it up, guys. I'm sure there probably is plenty of stuff I didn't cover, but leave me a comment down in the space, you know, that's meant for that. And yeah, if you liked it, give me a like. If you really liked it, give me a subscribe. Not that that means much, but it will give it a better chance of it showing up in your feed. And then if you super duper liked it, you know, maybe send it to a good buddy or your grandmother or your pastor or your local politician. I don't know. So think of somebody. Just think of somebody for me and send it to them. If if you really liked it, not cold requesting it. I want to earn that share. But yeah. So that's the Hoto brushless indoor drill, and I will see you guys next time.